And just like the sands of an hourglass, just like the flame of an incense cone, it is time to these are the episodes of our Things That Go Bump. Okay, what the fuck was that? All right, incense lit. Homemade coffee today. Twink. Hey, if you know anything about coffee, you know that like lattes and shit, it's normally an espresso blend. But hey, the coffee shop I buy my coffee from this week did not have espresso blend, and I needed coffee. So I just had them blend or grind a dark roast coffee, like a espresso grind, and I used that for my latte today. Delicious. I think I might start doing this instead of buying espresso beans. Just use dark roast coffee with an espresso grind. This shit is delicious. I did a caramel macchiato today. It is delicious. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Things That Go Bump. I'm your host, Zaebian, and this is my official Goosebumps review podcast. This is episode 9 of the pod already. That is pretty crazy. Today I have a super special studio audience member right behind you, just off camera, my dog Lotus. She decided she wants to nap in my room tonight on my bed, and I decided, who am I to disturb the peace? So today Lotus is joining us in the studio. Let's get a round of applause to Lotus, everybody. She is dead asleep right now. Staring right at her. She's sleeping so hard. But she appreciates your support nonetheless. Episode 9, people. That's crazy. There's like 9. What's a cool number affiliate with 9? There's a movie, I think, called 9 about little sock puppets or something in a dystopian universe. That's a weird. I don't know why. I haven't thought about that movie in years. Don't know where that recall is coming from. There's how many planets are in the solar system? Are there 9? How many? Let's just try to use Siri again, guys. Let's see how this goes. Are you fucking serious? How many planets are in the solar system? There. Oh, I turned it off. How many planets are in the solar system?
There are 8 planets in the
Shit!
solar system. Mercury, Venus,
Shit!
Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune.
Fuck! There's only 8 planets. I thought there were 9. Fuck! Whatever. If you include the sun, then if you include the sun, then there's 9. Okay. Whatever. Episode 9. Let's get into some housekeeping. First of all, sorry that I had to take a break last week. Thanksgiving was fucking insane for me, and I got COVID. So who the fuck is still getting COVID in 2023? That's so annoying. I had it for the first time like over 2 years ago now, and this was the second time I had it. It was much better than the first time, but still so stupid and annoying, and I felt like shit for days, but not nearly as bad as I did 2 years ago. Aside from that, 'tis the fucking season, people. It is Christmas time right now. It's December. It's Christmas time, bitch. I decorated for Christmas at my house after Thanksgiving. I love Christmas. We had a little Christmas special on Real Girls last year, and I said this on there too, but I'll say it again. I am not religious at all, but I am an absolute hoe bag for the commercial aspect of the Christmas holiday. I love Christmas so much. Anyways, so we decorated my house last year. I really wanted to start a Christmas village. I helped a couple friends put together their giant Christmas village at their house for the first time. And then my mom bought me some like starter stuff for a Christmas village. So I finally got to put together a Christmas village this year. Zaebian, insert a video of my Christmas village here. It is so cute. I need to get some more people, but it is so cute. And I have, as I've mentioned, cats and dogs, and I needed it to be off the ground so they couldn't bother it. So I had to put everything on like a floating shelf and a shelf on my bookcase. I had to clear off the shelf of my bookcase to use it for my Christmas village, but it was so worth it. It's so cute. Everything I had fit the space perfectly, and I love it. I love Christmas. Love Christmas. And oh, well, let's throw it back to a minute ago when I had this is good for the horror fans. When I had COVID and I was sitting in my house for 2 days in quarantine, but at this point with basically no symptoms, and I had nothing to do and nowhere to go, I finally was able to play a game on my PS4. I don't talk about this much, but like gaming is a big guilty pleasure of mine. I've thought about like streaming or like making gaming YouTube videos for such a long time, and I might actually do it because it's just so fun and I love doing it and I want an excuse to do it more. I'm not like a huge gamer, but I've played some games in my day. I'm not very adventurous. I don't like to go outside the realm of a storyline. Like side quests, I don't give a fuck about. I don't care about downloading all the crazy shit for them. I just like to play them. But I was finally able to play a game that I got for Christmas last year on my PS called The Quarry. If you guys have never heard of The Quarry, it is basically a choose your own adventure, like murder camp counselor game. It is so fucking fun. It's one of those games that I played it for the first time on like a Friday or something. I started it on Friday. I played it 2 entire times. I played the entire game twice in a matter of 3 days. Literally Friday to Sunday, I played The Quarry 2 times. So that just goes to show you, A, it's really fucking fun. B, it's a pretty quick storyline if you like dedicate some time to it. But because it's like a choose your own adventure game, you can like go out of your way to make different decisions than you did at different points in the game and get new results. And it's so fun. And oh my God, I love it. I loved it so much. The second time I played it, I accidentally almost killed everyone. It was insane. It was insane. That game is so fun. If you haven't played The Quarry, please play it. Also, Brenda Song is a character in it. She's a voice for one of the characters, and like she is in the game. She is such a fucking badass. We love Caitlin from The Quarry here at Things That Go Bump. Okay, and then ghost updates in my house. I hate that as soon as I started doing this, not much has really happened. I've still been seeing like the pretty usual like quick shadows in the dark, or like I've seen a mist in my peripheral a couple of times now, but not anything too out of the ordinary that I haven't already shared on the pod before. More on that, I don't know, next time maybe. But that's everything I have for housekeeping. Let's jump into the meat, guys. Let's get to the review for this week's episode of Things That Go Bump. Now, last week, we talked about Phantom of the Auditorium with the iconic Miss Brooke and her friend Zeke. Was his name Zeke? I don't know. But that was book number 24 in the Goosebumps series. So we're not jumping too far back in time today. We are going to be talking about book number 19 in the original series called Deep Trouble. Now, this is not an original copy of mine, but I do know for a fact that I owned this book as a kid. It was with the very few other Goosebumps books that I know I had as a kid. I just remember seeing this cover. I remember never reading the book, and I really didn't know what to expect from this one. I really didn't. I try not to read the synopsis on the back of the book before I read it because they tend to give away fucking everything. So I like very briefly glanced at it and I saw something about a mermaid and I was like, well, there goes any surprise I had that this book could hold for me. But it was interesting nonetheless. But it was different. Let's talk about it. So a brief synopsis to start. This book is about a boy named Billy who is his name is actually okay. The title of this book is kind of like The Beast from the East. It's a nice double entendre. So it's called Deep Trouble. This takes place with this boy named Billy, whose last name is Deep. Okay. And he is staying with his sister on basically a boat that his uncle, who is a scientist or a marine biologist or something like that, is like sailing on for research that he's doing. And his name is Dr. Deep. And they call him Dr. D throughout the whole book, Dr. D. That's just so unfortunate. It's just so disgusting. If anyone that I ever met in my life asked me to refer to them as Dr. D, you're getting blocked instantly. Like, Dr. D, and it's not even like it's a shortened anything. His name is Dr. Deep. You are asking people to go out of your way to just leave the P off the end of your name for no reason. Anyways. So Dr. D has set up camp on his boat in Elandra, which is on the Caribbean Sea, and their boat is called the Cassandra. The names in this are very weirdly elaborate. And Dr. D he's a good guy. He's a good guy overall. And at one point it says that he's too busy staring at fish to have children of his own. Like literally exactly the same. I get you. I'm also staring at my fucking aquarium all day, every day. I don't think I've talked about that on the podcast. I have an aquarium that we've been through lots of ups and downs together, to say the least, but I do like to stare at it every now and then. So me and Dr. D relate on that level. So yeah, he doesn't have any kids, so he lets Billy and Sheena like stay with him every summer or something. Also on the Cassandra with the three that I've mentioned is Dr. D's assistant named Alexander, who's a college student. Billy's a fucking badass. Let me just preface that with this. He reminds me a lot of fucking Brooke from Phantom of the Auditorium. Just in his head, he's flaming everybody. But when we meet Alexander, he, in his own little internal monologue, says he's a big deal science student. What does he know? So true. So yeah, all four of them are on this boat. Dr. D and Alexander are trying to do some scientific tests to make some scientific discoveries, because what the fuck do scientists do? Like, okay, we found out something new about something. Now what? You just tell everybody about it and get paid for it? I could do that. I could fucking do that. I found out last week that the girl who made out with a hot dog in Mean Girls is in the episode of Goosebumps of the Phantom of the Auditorium. I didn't get paid for it. What the fuck is a marine biologist getting paid for? Finding secret creatures, which we'll get into. Let's move on. That's my rant about science for the day. So they're all on the boat, and I'll say they are approached by a great proposal that could earn them a lot of money and lead them to make a great scientific discovery relating to the ocean or the water or something, the sea, the Caribbean Sea, and hilarity ensues. Now let's kind of dive in a little bit more. So talking about the characters, I'm so all over the place today, guys. Sorry. Talking about the characters really quick. Billy's sister Sheena is annoying. She's a pretty useless character. She's pretty much just like a filler in like younger sibling who doesn't really add anything to the story at all. And when I was reading about her and just realizing how annoying and useless she was, I was just thinking, like, when will we read a Goosebumps book about an only child? As an only child for half of my life growing up, I could have really used that representation in my Goosebumps books. Where is the only child or the friendless child representation in the Goosebumps series? I really hope we get to it at some point in time, because we really need it. I don't need a bunch of Sheenas for the rest of this entire series, okay, R.L. Stine? So if you added some Sheenas right now, you better get the fuck rid of them before I read the rest of your books, or we are going to have some serious words to say to each other. Billy is just a fun, adventurous, imaginative kid who wants to make discoveries and just have fun and have a good time. He wants to see wild sharks, and he loves snorkeling and exploring the ocean. He's also just very curious and things like that. And as I mentioned earlier, he is a fucking savage. He is always insulting others. And in the very beginning of the book, quite a few times, he talks about knocking people's lights out all the time, which I personally relate to a lot. I also think about punching people in the face quite often. And I probably did at the age of 12, like Billy as well. But definitely, yeah, as an adult, that really resonated with me, of just wanting to punch people. Yeah, that stood out to me in a very positive way. So kind of let's start with the beginning of the book. So we see Billy snorkeling, and he accidentally swims too far away from the Cassandra, the boat that they're all staying on. And he gets attacked by an octopus monster that like tries to grab him and something like that, and like pull him down into the water. And he said it had like 12 tentacles instead of 8, and it had razor sharp teeth, and it sounded so scary. And like from the very get-go really triggered me, because as someone who has almost drowned like 4 times in my entire life, like actually almost died due to excess water building up in my lungs and me not having the capability of breathing properly underwater, like literally 4 times in my entire life. This is bone chilling. The very beginning of this is so scary. And hey, here's the thing. Yeah, I still don't know how to swim. But here's the other thing. Because of all of my near-death experiences in open water, I have no desire to go swimming. If a pool is below 6 feet, I'm not going in it. I don't care. I don't want to learn how to swim. And that's that. If I ever have children, they are taking swimming lessons as soon as they come out of the womb, because if they want to go swimming later in life, I'm not going to be able to save them if they start drowning. And I'm not going to live with the guilt of letting my child drown because I didn't know how to swim. So they are going to be like a fucking gold medalist swimmer by the time they are 5 years old. Because not on my watch. You know what I mean? But yeah, Billy sees, like right away in the book, Billy sees a fucking octopus monster that tries to drag him under the water. And that is just so fucking scary. Because on top of being scared of open water after just having horrible experiences with it, it also just freaks me out, because like I also am just so genuinely scared of like reptiles and sea creatures. They freak me the fuck out. So thinking about like the water that this 12-year-old boy is snorkeling in alone and getting caught by creatures. I just saw a TikTok last night, actually, after I finished reading this book, of an octopus under the water. It's just someone recording an octopus crawling across a reef, and it keeps changing colors perfectly and camouflaging itself and squeezing itself into small spaces. That is awful. And I said it to my friend, and I was just like, how the fuck are humans not extinct when we live on the same plane as fucking creatures like this? There's just so much shit, and that's shit that we know about. There are so many things that we don't know about because the water is so deep and it's so scary. I'm gonna look up, just in case you people are not on the same page as me. Let's look at this article called The Scariest Monsters of the Deep Sea, and you'll agree with me in about 2 minutes after we look at some of these creatures together. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, this is just the picture that they have at the very start of the article, and I hate it. Oh boy. Okay, I'm screen recording now. I'm sure for my video viewers. Oh, I'm back on the picture I was talking about earlier. I hate it. I'm screen recording and I'm showing you the article that I'm looking at. The red octopus is kind of cute, though. He's a little sweet. There's a red octopus on the screen. He just looks a little nice. I'm sure he's fucking giant and scary, though. Let's keep going. Sorry, there's some deep sea blob sculpins on my screen right now, like those scary blob fish. Oh, duh. God. Oh, not a goblin shark. What the fuck, bro? Ew. Oh, Jesus. No, I don't like it. I don't like it. Zombie worms. I don't want to know what that is. That's a fish? A stone fish. Synacia verrucosa. That's its science name. That's its government name. Nah! No! Oh, these are so scary! I'm gonna freak out! No way! No fucking way! That is horrible! I can't even go back up. I'm so scared! Ew! Holy shit! That's it. We're done. I can't do any more. That's horrible. Jesus Christ, that was awful. Oh my God. That just increased my heart rate by like 40 beats per minute. Ew, bitch. Oh my God. The ocean is horrible. The ocean is terrifying. Never go in the ocean. Those are the creatures we know about. Those are some of the fucking millions of creatures we know about. There's so many we don't know about. That's so scary. Oh, that's so scary. And there's multiple of them. Oh, I have chills down my back. That's disgusting. Holy fuck. Okay, well. Okay. We got to move on here. So, we learn, as I said before, about Dr. D. His dick is giant horse. Nope. Let's reel it in. Stop myself. Let's reel it in. So, Dr. D, bro. Dr. D. How am I supposed to think about anything else other than a fucking, like... Anyways, so Dr. D and Alexander, as I said, Alexander's a student, and Dr. D is working with him because his work is actually funded by a university in Ohio. That's literally all it says. No specific one, probably because their names are all fucking trademarked or something. But it just says he works with a university in Ohio who funds his research, and he doesn't have enough money right now from them to even fix some very important parts on the Cassandra that will help them do research that he's being paid to do. And then... yeah, we pretty much gather that. We learn more about the lifestyle of these people living on this boat. And then we are introduced to Mr. Showalter and Ms. Wickman from the Marina Zoo. These two representatives of a zoo. Is the Marina Zoo real? Marina and the Diamonds. No. Marina Zoo. It's probably real. It's in Serbia. Okay. So these two people pull up from... my incense isn't burning. Oh, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Sorry, guys. One moment. Please don't burn my nail. 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 Ah, fucking son of a bitch. It hurt. Oh, I didn't even... there's no flame. I just pressed my finger flat on top of the part where fire comes out on my lighter. Holy balls, that was stupid. Okay. This shit better burn or I'm going to have a fucking fit. So Mr. Showalter and Ms. Wickman are on their own little boat and they approach the Cassandra. They hop on board and they are having a conversation with Dr. D that in his office that Billy is eavesdropping on from the other side of the door. And basically we hear the zoo people make a very, very hefty proposal to Dr. D. They say that there has been a mermaid. There has been a mermaid sighted near the reef where they are staying. And they are going to give him $1 million if he discovers the mermaid and gives it to them so they can put it in their zoo. And Billy, adventurous, wanting to discover shit Billy, is so excited about this. He's like, oh my God, I can catch the mermaid myself. I'm going to be great at this. And Dr. D accepts the proposal or the offer. And yeah, Billy, while eavesdropping, right after Mr. Showalter tells Dr. D this needs to be a secret, don't tell anyone, Billy falls into the room like a probably a TV show, because of, I guess the door he was leaning against just was holding all of his weight with just the weakest abilities to withstand any amount of pressure. And he falls into the room. They're like, shit, this was a secret. Now he has to agree to not say anything to anyone. And he does. And he's just then kind of like imagining what his life is going to be like after he sees the mermaid. And, you know, he says he's going to keep it a secret. He's to keep the mission a secret, so he's not allowed to tell Sheena. So literally everyone on the boat, except for his little sister, who is useless, doesn't know that there's a mermaid they're trying to go after. He's literally at one point is thinking like, will I let Sheena be on TV with me when I single-handedly catch the mermaid? Probably not. Billy, you are a fucking icon. Billy serves. Billy slays. So yeah, Billy becomes determined to find this mermaid by himself. And I think the next day or something, at like 6:30 in the morning, he swims out, snorkeling out into the water alone. And I forgot to mention this earlier, that the boat is like within a very wide distance of a coral reef, but we learn it's actually fire coral, which apparently is it is covered in a mild poison, and when you touch it, you feel like your skin is burning off. That's horrible. He burned his hand on it earlier, I think when he was trying to escape that octopus monster or something, and that's when he learned about it. But yeah, so he knows that this mermaid has been spotted on a lagoon that is past the reef, the fire coral reef. So he's swimming towards it again so he can try and go to the mermaid-sided lagoon. And at this point, we learn that Sheena has actually followed him, because why not? And she's like, come back. And he's like, no, I have to keep going. And he keeps going, and she's like, oh my God, stop, come back. And he's like, what the fuck? And he's like, he hears a flap or something in the water, and he thinks it's the mermaid, but he looks back, and it is a gray fin. It is gray fin swimming towards him. I could be sick. I could literally vomit right now. It's a fucking hammerhead shark swimming straight towards him. That's just fucking horrible. He tries to calmly escape it, go back towards the boat, but then he finds that the shark is circling him. The shark is circling him. A 12-year-old boy by himself. Just terrible. It's also, I forgot to mention, a 10-foot long hammerhead shark, mind you. Tim Jacobus, who we have talked about, I think this is yup, I see his signature. Tim Jacobus, you slayed with this cover. This, oh God, fuck, fuck. All right. Tim Jacobus did a good job of portraying what's happening right now. The shark starts to circle him, and it starts to come even closer and closer to him, and then it tries to fucking attack him and eat him. At one point, he's so desperate for escape that he flings his entire fucking body onto this burning fire coral. And he's like burning, and the shark like grabs his leg and pulls him down. But then something saves him. A creature shows up and beats the shit out of the shark. Beats this shark's ass to the point that it swims away. And Tim's like, oh my God, what the fuck was that? Tim? Who's Tim? Who's Tim? Have I said Tim multiple times? Who's Tim? Billy is like, Billy's like, oh my God, what was that? And we learn it's the mermaid that he had heard about and was looking for. The mermaid a mermaid in the ocean showed up and saved his life from the shark. And he learns very quickly the mermaid doesn't speak English, unlike the beasts from the east who knew how to speak perfect English. And it makes weird like chittering noises, but it seems to be very friendly. And we start to enter this era of the book with the mermaid. At one point, the mermaid like grabs his palm that is burning from the fire coral he was sitting on, and it like grazes it grazes her palms over his hands, and it heals his coral burns. How nice is that? And then after she does that, she like goes under the water and like pinches at his feet and is being like a silly little goofer, and they're just like hanging out, and he's like, oh my god, I found the mermaid, I'm gonna be rich and famous, that's everything. Then they're just chilling, and next thing they know, they are inside a giant fucking fishing net. Someone scoops them out of the water together. And we find out it was Dr. D and Sheena. And yeah, they scoop them up in a net. They bring them back to the Cassandra. Billy is like, Sheena and Dr. D are just staring at the mermaid, and Billy's like, please let me out. This is cutting into my skin. Literally like bleeding, please let me out. And they're just staring at the mermaid, and eventually he gets out. And while he's out, he's looking back at the mermaid, who's like freaking out because she's scared and sad, and Billy's like pleading with Dr. D. He has like a major change of heart about like capturing the mermaid. And Billy pleads to Dr. D to release the miserable looking mermaid. And Dr. D basically like, he's not like completely evil or corrupted or anything, but he's like, we have to do this. Like, I have to do this. This is my job. I have to do some tests and stuff like that. So he puts her in a giant fish tank on the deck of their boat, and he just says it's pretty much all in the name of science, and he promises that he's not going to hurt her. This, I feel, opens up an extremely well-crafted commentary on just like captivity of animals, and just like animal activism at that. Like after the mermaid's in the tank, Billy is so miserable watching her like cry. It literally talks about her crying and wiping away tears and stuff, that he decides he's going to free her regardless of what Dr. D will feel. And it literally says in his monologue, I'm going to do what I think is right. That's crazy. That's it just got very deep. This book gets very deep. Deep trouble, bitch. It gets very deep. Are you kidding? I'm so good at what I do. But he basically just represents like this, like the perspective of someone who is like fighting the hard fights when standing up for like something they believe in, especially when it comes to like protecting a creature's free will and ability to live a like full life and like a free life and thrive. And it literally screams at me like just about how horrible just sea life captivity is. It's so terrible. And like that's all you ever hear about with like these like SeaWorld and places like that. Just how fucking terribly they treat all of their animals, how their animals die super young because they're kept in the most like solitary captivity. And it's just horrible for them. And they are just making money off of these animals for training them. They're not dogs. This is like a fucking orca whale we're talking about. And manatees and shit. Like, we don't need to do all that. We don't need to fucking do all that. We can do other things to entertain ourselves that do not require human beings to treat sea animals like that, regardless of how fucking scary they are. Let's leave them the hell alone. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get why it's so hard to shut down these institutions, or at least just improve the quality of life that they provide for their animals. I don't get why it's so fucking difficult. But yeah, it just really stresses the idea of go cruelty free. Stop using animals as the subjects of your tests and the center of your amusement, and then treating them terribly in the process. Stop doing that. We're fucking over it. We're done. That's so tired. We're so over it. Move on. Stop doing that. It's ugly. But now moving on, the next day, I think, or something, Dr. D goes to an island called Santa Anita to buy a bunch of food to try feeding the mermaid because they don't know anything about it. And in that time, Alexander is like, okay, I'm going to start doing some tests on it. And Billy then tries to free the mermaid, and Alexander stops him from like opening the lid on top of the tank. And he basically says, like, you can't do it for the sake of just our research we have to do on it. Even though it says that he is very, like, distressed by the mermaid's demeanor and, you know, obviously her being stressed. And it's just like, you literally feel guilty, bro. Like, he's just showing, like, you're prioritizing your own work at the expense of traumatizing another being. Hey, you're fucking selfish as hell. That's disgusting. But they very quickly make some discoveries about her. She likes to eat squid. They have some squid for lunch that Billy thinks is disgusting and gives to her, and she loves it. They also find out that she sends out sonar signals through water. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what that means, but in my brain, it kind of makes me think of I don't actually know what it makes me think of. Nothing. I just imagine she sends like telephone frequencies out into the water to her other mermaid friends. And it basically says that she does that to communicate with more mermaids, that they discover like, oh, there must be more mermaids. And she picks up on communication cues, like basically monkey see, monkey do. She like nods and shakes her head with fucking Billy and stuff like that. So she's intelligent, which is interesting, I guess. Now we get into the big old plot twister of the book. That night, they are all asleep, and Billy hears from above on the deck another boat approach, and people getting onto their boat, and he thinks initially it's the zoo people, but he's like, why would they be here in the middle of the night? And then he hears some people yelling. He goes up on the deck and he sees 4 men all in black, and one of them's holding a club, and in front of them is fucking Dr. D face down on the fucking floor. They knocked him out with a fucking club. These guys are so fucking weirdly violent. It is insane. But they've knocked out Dr. D, and now they're trying to steal the mermaid. And Sheena shows up at some point, and Billy attempts to like charge one of the guys to stop them while they're scooping the mermaid out of the tank. But once they've done that, the guy that Billy charges like picks him up and just puts him in the giant fucking fish tank. This is a 12-year-old boy that these grown men are like abusing. Like, they're literally kidnapping this fucking mermaid. It's insane. Then Alexander shows up, and Billy's like, stop, they're getting the mermaid. While he's drowning in a fish tank, he's not even saying, get me out of here. He's saying, stop them from stealing the mermaid. They're kidnapping her. And instead of helping Billy or stopping the men, Alexander, he goes up to one of the men in black, and he basically asks if they have the mermaid, and then asks if they have his money. They say yes, and he says, let's get out of here. Alexander is a fucking mole. He's a rat bastard. I was gooped by this. I was absolutely fucking gooped. Alexander's a little prick piss bitch. Just trying to make some fucking money. Terrible. So at this point, Dr. D regains consciousness, and he tries to stop Alexander from going with the men and letting them take the mermaid. And the mystery men say that they need to, before they leave, they need to kill Dr. D and the children. They literally say, like, we can't leave them here. We need to kill them. So they throw Sheena, as well as a still like regaining consciousness weak Dr. D. They throw both of them into the fish tank with Billy, and they latch the lid on top, like locking it so they can't get out. And then, as if that's not fucking crazy enough, they push the tank into the ocean, and then ride away on their own boat with the fucking mermaid, like, tied to the back of it. So that leads me into our picture of the week. This book is very different in the sense that, like, the rest of our, like, antagonists so far have been like monsters or genuine villains and things like that. In this book, the actual creature or like just being at the center of the book is not even the antagonist. The antagonist is people. It's so strange. It's nothing like a paranormal thing. It's not a monstrous thing. It's literally evil human beings are the antagonist of the book. It's so crazy. And it was genuinely so shocking to see this happen. But yeah, I've portrayed what I've just described to you here. So we have the mermaid, I forgot to mention, is very descriptively like long blonde hair and a big green fishtail. So that's what we see down here. Is the mermaid tied to the boat with the four men in black. One of them is holding a club because he beat the shit out of Dr. D with it. And then at the end of the boat is Alexander. The rest of the men are looking very evil, but Alexander is just kind of shrugging. He's like, oh, well, they're paying me $20 million instead of $1 million. It literally says that, which is insane and probably not true. But yeah, they're all standing on the boat with the mermaid tied to it, and they're all saying, have fun drowning, bitches, because they pushed the giant fish tank into the ocean with the two children and their uncle locked inside of it. This is fucking psycho. If this were a horror movie, I would eat this shit up. That is fucking insane. Again, as a 4-time drowning survivor, this is my worst fucking nightmare. You will... Oh. Absolutely not. Absolutely fucking not. That's terrifying. Oh, that's so terrifying. Oh, and before we move on, I would like to say, right before I started recording this episode, I did decide, although they are not like monsters by any means or like the scariest villains or whatever, these men have, just with how outlandish their behavior is, these men have earned a spot in the Goosebumps cinematic universe government. I am happy to announce that. I am so happy to introduce all of you to the CIA agents in the Goosebumps government, in the Goosebumps cinematic universe. Yes, all 4 of the men in black and Alexander are going to serve as the CIA because they obviously go to the most extreme fucking measures to be selfish and make money for themselves and the people in power who are terrible. And they harm and distress everyone else in that process. So they are perfect. They're perfect candidates for the CIA. I'm so happy to introduce everybody. Let's give them a round of applause. Welcome the 4 bastards and Alexander to the CIA of the Goosebumps universe. We are happy to have you. So moving on with the plot. Now we kind of go into rescue mission mode because obviously the 3 main characters of this book cannot die like this. Dr. D at one point in time tries using, while they're trying to escape, he tries using a barrette that Sheena has in her hair to like break a latch on the tank lid, which obviously doesn't work. This was really funny though. This absolutely reminded me of fucking Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne in Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, if you will. That scene where they're all trapped in like the big wire cage or whatever, and she has like supplies in her bag, that like makeup stuff that she uses to scan a fingerprint on the door lock so that they can open the cage. She is so fucking cunty for that. I keep like an assortment of shit in my bag, and whenever I need to actually use something, like I keep a pair of tweezers in my bag, I keep fucking Tide to Go stick in my bag. Whenever I actually need to use one of those things, especially my tweezers, I've used my tweezers for some weird shit. When I do, I always feel like Daphne. I am always like, pour strip, voila. That's me. I'm fucking her. I am Daphne Blake. I am Sarah Michelle, getting us out of a crisis with the power of beauty products.
I enjoy being a girl.
Anyways, Sheena doesn't do that. Her barrette doesn't fucking work. So they think that they are about to drown. And just when they've basically lost all hope, we see more creatures start swimming towards the tank, and they're like, oh my God, what is it? It's, long story short, dozens of mermaids showing up to the rescue. They all lift the tank out of the water up to the side of the boat, and then some of them pull the lid off of the tank so that the three of them can get out of the tank and onto the Cassandra. Magical, absolutely magical. And then Billy tries telling one of them, like, they took your friend, we need to go find her. Then that mermaid gives a bunch of orders to the rest of the mermaids, and the Dr. D and the two kids, ooh, just so unfortunate, just so unfortunate. The two kids and their uncle see that the mermaids all start traveling, like swimming really quickly right in the same direction. So they get in their own little like dinghy. Is that how you say it? Dinghy? How do you say it? I know what it is. I just don't know how to say it.
Dinghy.
It is a dinghy. And his name is Dr. D. Are you fucking kidding me? That is just so fucked up. It talks about him being in this dinghy so many times in this book. Dr. D in the dinghy. Not Dr. D in the dinghy. Ew, bro. Ew. Jesus Christ. Anyways, so Billy, Dr. D, and Sheena all load up in the dinghy, and they follow these mermaids for like, it said like 15 or 20 minutes. But they follow them to a cove where Alexander and the bad men are hiding out, and they see the mermaid tied to the boat as well. And at this point, Dr. D said something really nice that I liked. They're basically talking about like, how could Alexander do this? I can't believe he would do this. And Dr. D said, money can make people do terrible things. Let's just fucking sit on the absolute truth of that matter for a second, because that's crazy. So true. So much good commentary in this book. But yeah, all the mermaids find their friend tied to the back of the kidnapper's boat, and they attempt to pull the rope loose. And the cove is like eerily quiet, so they assume that everyone is asleep. And then when the mermaids are trying to loosen the rope, the trio's dinghy floats to the boat right at the cove coast or whatever, shore, and it lands right next to the boat of the bad guys. And the kidnappers, long story short, discover them there, of course. One of them has a torch that we just dive right back into going to the most extreme fucking measures to solve a problem. It is just so funny. One kidnapper lights a torch, and he starts to like wave it in Billy's face while someone else is trying to beat the shit out of Dr. D with a club again. And he then lights the trio's dinghy on fire. It's fucking arson. It's like, also, who wants to kill an old man and two children that badly? You set their fucking boat on fire. These men are so fucking corrupted by capitalism. It is insane, bitch. So yeah, the kidnappers try to beat the shit out of the trio, and they are just like nonstop fighting. Sheena is like pouring seawater onto this flame and hitting it with a fucking life jacket to try and put out the fire on their dinghy. And she finally is able to. The kidnappers realize their mermaid gone. It has escaped, and they lose. And then when that happens, the mermaids all start violently shaking the kidnapper's boat, and that's like, I guess, a distraction point so that the trio can book it out of there in their dinghy. And then, like, when they're going away, Billy sees the one mermaid from that was kidnapped that he was friends with, and it like waves, and he's like, oh my god, she saved me, how sweet, blah blah blah. Then we get to the next day after this happens. So our mermaid is free, the kidnappers lose, but the next day hey, Dr. Showalter and Ms. Wickman from the Marina Zoo show up at the Cassandra again, because it's been a couple days now. They're just checking in on his progress, and Dr. D basically, like, they don't know that he doesn't have the mermaid, and he basically like waits for Ms. Wickman to hand him the $1 million check from the zoo, and he rips it up. He fucking rips up this $1 million check. Instead of just saying, sorry, I don't have it, he rips up the check and then gaslights them into believing that mermaids are not real and that all the stories that they've heard are lies. But, like, that's just so savage, bro. It's so outlandish. This whole book is so outlandish, but, like, that is so funny. Like, he's just making these people look so stupid. And, like, as he should. End wildlife captivity, period. And yeah, so they fucking leave, and then Billy decides he's gonna go out to the lagoon while Sheena and Dr. D are napping. Again, why are we still snorkeling alone? You got attacked by a fucking shark. You've gotten attacked by a fucking octopus. But I think it's just because he wanted to see if the mermaid was out there. And while he's there, he approaches the fucking fire coral reef, and he has, dun dun dun, one last run-in with the octopus monster from the beginning of the book. And that's it. That is Deep Trouble. This book, this was very different from a lot of the other stories that we've read, but I really liked it. I flew through this book. There wasn't really a moment at all that I felt was like stagnant. I felt like they developed characters really nicely. The conflict of the book centering around this like mermaid and whether or not she should be freed and then being kidnapped. It was crazy. This was a good, like, compelling book. It just didn't really completely feel like a Goosebumps book. Like, it was surprising, not too stagnant, but it also wasn't very scary. There were some scary moments that, for me personally, sent the most violent chills down my back, just because of sea creatures. But, like, overall, this was not a very scary book, which is just interesting because, like most of the other ones, you know, it's a horror series. They are scary. Comparing Deep Trouble to, like, hate her so much, but The Haunted Mask and Carly Beth, that shit is scary as fuck. This is more so just, like, compelling, I guess. I really liked it nonetheless. So let's move on to everyone's favorite part of the podcast. Dwink of the numbers. So as always, we are starting with the spookiness of the concept. I gave the spookiness of the concept of Deep Trouble, we're starting off low, it gets better from here, a 1.9 out of 5, because unfortunately, like we just said, there is not really anything scary about the concept of this book. Child staying on the Caribbean Sea looking for a mermaid, they find the mermaid, it gets kidnapped by bad people, they release it. There's not really anything scary about it. The only thing scary about it is the run-ins that he has with scary fucking sea creatures as a 12-year-old. So there were those elements that made it very unsettling, but it wasn't a completely like with those added into it, it wasn't like the book was completely unscary or anything, but it was just overall much tamer compared to everything else that we have read so far in the Goosebumps series. So 1.9 out of 5 for sure. Next, the villain in the story. Again, this is kind of low. I gave it a 3 out of 5. This one, like I said, it's really weird to like pick out a villain, but I guess it would be Alexander and the kidnappers. And like this, compared to every other Goosebumps book, again, is a very lame villain choice. Just considering that it's a Goosebumps book and all of these are very like monster oriented, ghost oriented, like now the villains are just regular people. It was very different, and like compared to everything else, that is kind of a lame decision. But Alexander did cover his case really well for most of the book. And he did prove to be a decent, like, villain, like a bad guy. I had no fucking idea. That plot twist really took me for a loop. I had no idea he was going to be any sort of mole or rat or anything. He was very deceptive, and that was a very good, like... So you get some bonus points there. Lame choice, but it was executed quite well. So now moving on to the reader's the reader's tolerance. Might as well just call it that. The reader's tolerance of the protagonist in this book. I gave it a 4.75 out of 5. Billy is just overall such a likable and like even admirable character with his morals of like wanting the best for this creature and wanting to release it from captivity even though they really want it for themselves. It's just, he's a little naive sometimes because he's literally a 12-year-old boy. He gets himself into some danger, which is not great. But he knows how to take care of himself, kind of. And he just wanted to have fun and be adventurous, and that's it. He had a wild imagination. He was so fun. And he also proved to have a heart, and that he proved that he was extremely selfless and he cared for others greatly. I loved him so much. I adore Billy. But he's a little stupid sometimes. So 4.75 out of 5 is beyond fair in my opinion. Plot twists and resolutions, bitch, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I don't even fucking care. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I just absolutely was not expecting a like kidnapping rat attempted homicide twist to take place in a Goosebumps book. And it was just so intense and off-putting and surprising and great. I loved it. It was so exciting. And I also love that in the end, the bad guys did not win and the mermaid was freed. So it's like, it was such a good plot twist. And then the resolution of what you want to happen actually happening was so satisfying. It was so good. I loved it. 5 out of 5. Oh my gosh. So good. And lastly, the underlying messages and social commentary. Again, bitch, 5 out of 5. Are you kidding? Scientific discoveries should not be made at the expense of another creature's well-being and safety. This book fucking preaches that shit. And it is so good. It's such a valid fucking point. And it's just executed greatly. And then also just this idea that Dr. D mentioned of money making people do terrible things. It's just so... They are both two very clearly displayed points that I agree with wholeheartedly. Just so good. Just so good. And it like really, it just like the resolution of the book with those themes, it just shows that like being that way gets you nowhere. It gets you nothing. You lose. You're never going to find the success that you think you are by being selfish and hurting other people in the process. On God, if you will. And then plus there's just the sprinkles of, you know, overall, just end the captivity of sea creatures and wildlife and shop cruelty free. It's not that fucking hard. All right. Lastly, did I get ... Goosebumps? Yes, I absolutely fucking did. Are you serious? I was getting goosebumps talking about this book, let alone reading this book. Oh, I just started thinking about some of the sea creatures we looked at earlier. That made my stomach churn a little bit. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God, that fucking... I have to move. I can't. I'm going to have a freak out about this. So, this book is... I already fact-checked myself. This book has earned itself the major accomplishment alarm because it is the first book in Things That Go Bump history to receive a 5 out of 5 rating for plot twist and resolution. Let's give a giant hand to Deep Trouble for this major accomplishment. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So when we add up all the ratings for this book, we get an average score for Deep Trouble of 4.03 out of 5. That's a great rating. I think it's very fair. So with an overall score of 4.03 out of 5, Deep Trouble lands itself officially at second place in the McCandy Library's official ratings of the Goosebumps series, right underneath the iconic second book, Stay Out of the Basement, which is still in first. I am noticing a trend of the highest scored books so far having my favorite pieces of commentary. So maybe that, I don't know. Who knows? Do I think Deep Trouble is going to remain in second place for the rest of the series? I hope not. It was not the best Goosebumps book that we've read so far. But the numbers are the numbers. We have to respect the numbers. Do the numbers reflect my opinion on like which book was my favorite to read? No. But the numbers are the numbers, and statistically, this so far is the second best book in the Goosebumps series that we have read for things that go bump. And that's it. That's today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. This book was a whirlwind, and we've done what we came here to do. I hope I have instilled a deep fear in you of open water and sea creatures, and also supporting like SeaWorld. I hope you are also scared to do that. And I hope you will donate all of your money to a whale today, or a manatee, or a fish, or anything but the scary fucking ocean creatures that we saw earlier. Okay. If you liked this episode, if you're watching it on YouTube, leave a like and subscribe to my channel so that you see whenever I upload a new video. And if you're listening to it on any of your audio podcast platforms, leave me a rating, and also follow my channel so that you see when I upload new videos and new episodes of the podcast. And, you know, as usual, word of mouth is very powerful. If you like the podcast, hey, tell a friend about it. Ring a friend, like a fucking Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That's what it is. Phone a friend. Tell them about your favorite podcast, things that go bump. If you want to follow me outside of the podcast on any of my social media platforms, or if you want to support my small art business called wherefore.art.thou by Z, all the links and everything like that are in the description of this episode. And that is absolutely going to be it for me. Until next time, don't kidnap mermaids. Don't go to SeaWorld. Do shop cruelty free. Keep it loosey, and stay goosey. I will see you next time. Goodbye.